All right. So, once again, I never plan my live streams, right? I just see something, and if I have time, I just go to town talking about it, right? All right. So, I was looking at my news feeds, and I caught this commentary from Brandon Tatum. And normally I will shout out a channel and give them some love, but I don't like this channel. I don't care for this person, right? Remember, we talk about those puppets and tokens that talk about black people negative for the coins? He's one of them, right? These are people who truly almost hate the womb that they're in. But there was some comment. He was talking about Andrew Schultz and how he claims that Andrew Schultz, his caption is comedian Andrew Schultz canceled over black woman joke with James and Fod. They apologize, right? So Andrew Schultz is on this podcast, right? I guess these podcasters are doing a North American tour. They stop on his show or podcast, and I suppose they were talking about interracial relationships. And Andrew starts talking about black women.
They shave their hair because they start losing it. Because it's so stressed being around this black girl complaining about it.
So he said the white guys who get with black women, they shave their heads because they start losing it because the black woman that they're with stresses them out so bad that they start losing their hair.
That's why they gotta shave their hair.
Nah, bro. White guys with black girlfriends,
they grow a beard because there's more cushion when they get slapped the fuck out of.
And he said they grow a beard, so that when this black woman gets violent with them, that they will have some cushion, right? I guess to kind of cushion the blows of this violent black woman. And so there's some people that have some choice words about this. Now, number one, I think that Andrew Schultz is a culture vulture. And I think that people like, sometimes black people, we are our own detriment because we let any and everybody sometimes into our culture. And I do kind of appreciate, our FBA contingency brothers and sisters really kind of acting as lions of Judah when it comes to the black image, the black narrative, and they're really just kind of calling out people who serve more as demonizers to the culture. And so I like the fact that, whatever you want to say about Tariq Nasheed, at least he is somebody who seems to want to be or want to have a handle on the culture. And I'm not going to ever demonize somebody that, feels that way, And we're going to get some losers, some unattractive people who can't look at themselves in the mirror on the live stream. And they're probably going to be some of his people, right? Because they're probably the least intelligent and graceful people on the earth, but they like to believe that they are. But, anyways, getting back to Andrew Schultz's comments, though, about black women, some people are claiming that this is that it was racist what he said. The gentlemen that were on the podcast with him, apparently they got some backlash from the comments that were being made. And, they felt compelled to apologize for the things that Andrew Schultz said, and apparently they felt like the things that he said was not safe, right? Now, as a black woman, I've dated interracially before. I don't really take any relationships with non-black people seriously, and I've never have. That's just me, and I think most people, when you think about the whole notion of interracial dating, if there's some people, they'll do it, they'll explore options, right? That's what people do, men or women. But at the end of the day, I think that some people do have more of a commitment to their own people, and that's absolutely okay. And that's fine. But the thing is with people like Andrew Schultz, and I said this before, is black people let him in, just like we let DJ Vlad in, right? We keep letting these people in, right? And when we let non-black people into the culture to commentate or curate the culture in any kind of way, what happens is they get very comfortable, right? You look at that one blogger chick, Pearly Things, right? She aligned herself with all these black looking people, right? And then the minute that she felt like she had her black people cred, she felt like she could say whatever she wanted to say about black people. So we do need to mind these culture vultures because they get comfortable. And when they get comfortable with us, they start letting out their inner bigotries as jokes and fun and laughter, and we're really confused, right? Because they're saying something that normally we would think is racist or bigotry coming from this person, but because it's them and they've woven themselves into our cultures as a friend, right? We're not realizing that out of jokes, their truths are coming out about us, right? And our people, right? So we've let Andrew Schulz into our culture, right? And as a result, Andrew Schulz is comfortable talking to and about black people any kind of way. He doesn't feel, and he's a comedian. I get that, right? But even comedians are very selective in how they communicate about certain groups, especially these days, right? Because obviously the racial tensions in America are so high. And even if you're a comedian, you're going to be intelligent enough to handle those conversations with care. Now, obviously, Andrew Schulz comes off as this guy who's entitled to say whatever he wants to say without a care because he's a comedian, right? Right. And I think that that's an obnoxious way to think about comedians because I know George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Eddie Griffin, right? These brothers are real comedians because they could talk about racial relations and all kinds of things, more so in a pragmatic, true to life way, right? But, this guy is married to a whole woman that looks like him, right? I mean, honestly, talking about black women and black women in relationships and them being abusive, the one thing I would like to know from Andrew Schulz is how many black women have you been in a relationship, an actual relationship with? I'm not talking about, somebody you were fooling around with and, giving, a little money here and there for the booty, right? I want to know how many black women you have actually had quality relationship where it wasn't a sexual relationship and you guys were actually working and building to accomplish something or have some type of agreement. I would be interested in understanding that from Andrew Schulz as to why he's so comfortable talking about universally, because these are universal generalized statements that he's making about black women that were abusive. Like, I mean, this is what he's saying, right? White guys got to grow a beard because obviously, when she starts hitting you, right? So he's narrating black women as abusive, right? It seems to be a keen interest these days in these people to narrate black people in a certain stereotypical manner. So we are in this phase in America right now where maybe they feel like black people have gotten too confident or whatever, but they got to go on these narration campaigns to demonize our characters, bring us down on a lower frequency. And they're using these culture vulture type people who act like they're down and hanging out with black people to do it. Right. So, when I hear people like Andrew Schulz, make general statements about black women and us being violent, right? And we are like stressful and stuff like that. I want to know where you've been getting your black women from. And are you picking black women based off of a stereotype, right? Which is 9 times out of 10 what these people are doing. And stereotypes of black people are typically based off of the behaviors and the characters of poverty line blacks, right? Because when I'm looking at a guy like Andrew Schulz, right? No polished black woman would be checking for him anyways. So I gotta believe that he is narrating this idea of a black woman based off of these Pukisha chicks from the poverty line who will absolutely get activated if you talk cross, especially if you're a white dude. Because they know that some of them are just going to sit back and take it. Some of them like that, right? So I don't know. I can't say that his comments were necessarily racist, right? But I can't really gauge it because he's a culture vulture and black people have allowed him to commentate in our culture to some respect, right? So, I'm not sure if he was being racist or a matter of fact based off of the black women that he was exposed to, right? But again, it plays into the narrative that black women are universally problematic, toxic, we're abusers, right? He would have been a lot better if he said some black women or the black women that I've been with, right? But this dude went full blown generalizing of black women. And that's what a lot of these people at the end of the day, I see what they're doing. They are trying to validate, ideas of white supremacy by maintaining these stereotypes about black people in very colorful ways, right? And they need people of all groups and colors doing this, right? And I caught this sort of story from Brandon Tatum, right? And again, I don't care for this dude. Usually I'll shout out and give love and tell people to subscribe to the channel, but I don't like black buck dancers at all. I don't care for the Bucky dancers, right? And this dude, if he's going to talk about anything, it's going to be negative projections and generalizations of black people and why white people are better than black people in little colorful ways. That's his job as the conservative commentator, buck dancer type folk, is to make those, sort of lower segments of white people feel better about themselves by delivering them unhinged narrations of black people so that they can make us universally look ignorant, like indiscriminately, right? Indiscriminately, they want to make all black people look a certain way. They want black women to look a certain way. And they want to just sort of narrate us as we're not able to be certain things. Like, listen to this.
Black dudes go out and be like, I'm looking for whitey. It's like, no, I'm looking for a woman who's kind, who's generous, who's stable.
So he's saying that he's looking for a woman who's kind, generous, and stable. Those were his first requirements. Are you saying that black women are not able to do that, or it's impossible in all of America for you to find black women who are like this?
Who's traveled, who's educated.
Traveled? Educated? Black women are some of the most traveled and educated women in America. See, these are the narrations that these people like to project about black women. Like, if you know a black woman, I don't know anybody that don't know a black woman who has not traveled and who is highly educated. I don't know a lot of black people who don't know a black woman who is not kind and generous and giving, right? But these are the general narrations that these people like to perpetuate about black women, right? Because they need us unhinged. They need us activated. They need us hiding in the victimhood of our sorrows and stuff with our hair weaves and our white women hair because we just want to be like white women, right? They need us thinking that we're trying to aspire to be a woman or a type of woman that we're not trying to be. Black women have so much soul. We are the most emulated type of group of people. They're emulating us. And if some of these black buck dancers will take away, like, just relinquish your coins for a second and take off your blinders, you'll realize we are the most leeched on people, the most emulated people in America. Black people are suppressed in America because they would rather suppress us and our ideas so that they can leech off of them. Like, let's keep it real. They talk about black people never created anything. Do you understand that the first experience that I had with a Facebook was a platform called blackplanet.com? And nobody can tell me that the whole Facebook interface wasn't a jock off of Black Planet. Forget all that stuff that little little lawsuit that Zuckerberg was going through with those twin guys, right? There was a whole other platform built by minorities that existed before Facebook, and the interface was damn near the same. Between BlackPlanet.com and Mehente, those were the first social media type platforms outside of like your Yahoo type stuff, but like an interface like that. They had the college students on lock. They had a lot of the HBC. It was created by Black people, and they literally copied it. And because they have the capital and the money to see innovations like that way further than we can, all we can do is just sit back and watch them leech off our stuff. And Black Planet went to dust as Facebook took off. But they were out longer than Facebook. So don't act like Black people, we ain't full of ideas that people are leeching off of constantly, right? So these people want to narrate us as always inferior. I mean, listen to this black-faced man. Because Brandon Tatum is a Black American man. And this is how
kind, who's generous.
He's always comparing. He even have a whole video on why he dated a white woman versus a Black woman. A whole reason, right? And this dude is just talking about all these narrations of Black women. And it's like, where are you pulling these Black women from, right? Where are you pulling them? I don't really know a lot because I don't really hang out with at-risk Black people, right? I'm not hanging out with poverty line Black people like that. So a lot of these narrations that they have are from the poverty line. You go into the middle class and higher class Black people, these are totally different people. These are totally different people. And I'm just like, what Black people are you exposed to? Some of these people act like they've only been exposed to the stereotypical ideas of Black people and nothing more. They really do. The ignorance of some of these people is astonishing, right? It really, it narrates so much.
Who's stable, who's traveled, who's educated.
Black women can't be that.
Raise a family and not argue with me every day.
Okay, and this is the thing too. Have you ever been in a store and seen a white woman go in on her white man? White women go in on their men too. I've seen white women dog and emasculate their men in public in front of everybody. They wanted everybody to see what a punk they had because they were out there emasculating him, right? Unruly women is not a Black woman thing or just a Black woman thing. And there are a lot of Black women who are not unruly. They're not these narrations that these people want to perpetuate about us, right? But it makes some people feel better, right? We got to uphold ideas of white supremacy. And in these ideas, Black women are less graceful. We're uneducated. We're not stable. This is their narrations of us, and it's sickening. Same thing to be said for white people too. And this is a white guy saying this. They're like, people act like these narrations that are being perpetuated are not by design, right? Because you can actually contrast the poverty line white areas of America with the urban Black areas, and you're talking about the same damn animals, probably the same damn IQ level, same behaviors, right? But they're never going to narrate white poverty line. How many shows do you see that are dedicated to trailer park white people in America? How many mainstream media, videos, artists, all that stuff are dedicated to low IQ, trailer trash, low income white people? You're not going to see a lot of that because that's not the projection that they want to permeate about white people, even though a lot of white people can be real and say, shoot, we got some of those behaviors too in our community. It's just at the lower poverty line. But they're not realizing that these projections of Black people that they're buying into are projections of the poverty line Blacks. Like it's just like a complete miss because they're holding on to some idea of white supremacy. It's sad. It's sad. So I don't think that Andrew Schultz's comments was necessarily racist because unfortunately black people allowed this culture vulture in, and so it's really hard to understand where it's rooted from. What I do know is that Andrew Schultz is married to a woman that looked like him. Andrew Schultz is not even in a relationship, in any type of relationship with a black woman. So I don't even understand why he thinks that it is okay to even say generalized statements about black women. Like you are completely detached from black women. So if you're completely detached from black women and you don't have relationships with black women, you should be at least smart enough to season your words with salt and not go in with the generalizations. But again, we let these people into our culture. They get mad comfortable and they start saying whatever the hell they want to say to us and about us. It's just like DJ Vlad, going back and forth with Marlon Wayans, telling this black man what he is worth, right? Vlad wanted to dictate what he felt like Marlon Wayans was worth. He didn't care about his accomplishments, right? Vlad was looking at a black man that he could easily lowball because they are so low IQ, they don't know how to negotiate rates. But Marlon Wayans proved him wrong. And he was willing to walk away from all that. Like, bro, I don't need your little $40,000 that bad for you to minimize. And he was making a point to a person like Vlad. You're a culture vulture. You come up in our culture talking to our people, right? Getting them to say little things that incriminate themselves, right? I don't know why any hip hop artist would even want to have any dealings with DJ Vlad. But this dude thinks that now, because they have accepted me as this commentator in their culture, that I can say whatever I want to and about them, right? So, kudos to Marlon Wayans for putting that man in check, right? It's time for the wake up call, folks, right? People keep narrating black people. They keep thinking that we're weak. They keep thinking that we're so weak, right? That we're not at the clapback part. It's like, don't troll us, don't generalize us, because it's not going to go well for you. And a lot of people are like, Andrew Schultz is not going to care about, what black women or black people think about what he said. Of course he's not going to care because he have the privilege not to care. He has a privilege not to care. He has a privilege. But, I will say this. He did say that in the safety of a studio, right? Because he's not going to be going outside talking that reckless. He's not going to go outside talking that reckless. Nobody really thank God for computer screens, because none of these people who are actually running their mouths off so at ease talking about any group of people would ever do that in person. They would never do it in person. They wouldn't, because they get sneakoed. Okay? They would get sneakoed. Remember what happened when Sneeko came out here in Detroit doing all that little Republican stuff, and he was sitting up there calling that brother at the club the N-word and stuff like that, right? And he got that Incredible Hulk, right? He was on the streets talking that same mess that he talked on the internet, and the streets gave him a reality check. He had a chipped tooth. You're not going to be running around calling people the N-words, antagonizing people the same way these days. And people need to be smart enough. That is all the more reason to choose your words wisely. And even a comedian will choose their words wisely, right? Because they understand that we live in a time where we got to be a little bit mindful about what we say about people and groups. And we definitely have to add that caveat, like those instances where these are the people that I dealt with, or some people from this group do this. You can't run around generalizing people, because, you let people like Andrew Schultz narrate black women. We are stressful, abuseful people. And that's not fair to all black women at all, So Let me know what you guys think about his comments. I'll run them back for y'all to entertain without my commentary. You let me know. Was he out of pocket?
Black girl complaining about all the fucking time. That's why they gotta shave their
Nah,
hair.
bro. White guys with black girlfriends,
They grow
step,
a beard
they step their
because
dick
there's
up.
more cushion.
Now, dude did say white dudes with black girlfriends, the their eggplant game up. And I will say that. Like, I think that is true. But I think it's true temporarily, right? Because, you know, white dudes are stepping their game up. It's really a psychological thing because it is the perception of the sexuality of a black woman and being able to meet the sexuality levels of a black woman that really makes some white dudes feel like they need to level themselves up to meet this standard or what they think that maybe black men could do for them, right? So they're like some of these dudes, they step up their game according to this dude. It's really because they have to, right? Because they're not dealing with a woman that's going to accept mediocre from, so I will say I've been, in relations, not relationships, but I've had, situations with white dudes before, and you know I don't really feel like, and I think race matters, right? But I think it just really depends on, like for me, there's a couple of things, but you can always tell a lot about a guy by his nail beds. I usually like when I shake it, like I go in to shake men's hand for a reason because I am looking for something very specific when I'm shaking his hand. And I'm never wrong about this. And every woman that I put on game about this, they have told me that it's true. So, I look at the nail beds, and honestly, white guys are packing all the same as our brothers. They really are. Like, I mean, they really are. Like, you know, and even, some Asian guys, when you go into that Korean space, they actually do have amicable nail beds. And, you know, look at their nail beds, ladies, right? And I don't want to give away the sauce, but you are welcome to DM me and I will tell you exactly what to look for so that you can weed out a lot of beta males, right? Because the guys with the worst nail beds are usually the ones that are going to be the angriest because they got, they're not packing like the guys with the better nail beds, right? And so they're going to be angry beta dudes more times than not. Like I'll tell you who has very small nail beds. And now it kind of makes sense because I just started paying attention to it because I was looking at a video. Myron Gaines. Myron Gaines has very small nail beds. Very small nail beds. And that tells me a lot about what's going on with him there, and that's a whole insecurity for a lot of these dudes because it's like you need to love me for being rich because I'm not going to be fun in bed, right? Like you're going to get a little pickle tickle at best, but you're not going to get your back blew out from me because he doesn't have the nail beds to blow out a woman's back. He just don't. He just don't. So, ladies, maybe I'll do a video on how to help you do your little process of elimination. If you're a person who just wants an amicable lover, right? And I will say that white dudes can be amicable lovers, and honestly, race does not matter when it comes to size, right? You just got to look at his nail beds. The nail beds will tell you everything you need to know to move on with that decision. And if you're like, that chick that you want the real pipe down, I mean, because why do it if you're not getting that? Then you need to learn how to look at nail beds, right? get somebody that's sexually compatible with you so that you don't have problems. You know what I mean? A lot of people have problems in relationships because they bought into the idea of being in a relationship with somebody for like weird superficial reasons. But a lot of people, like, I don't think they're being realistic that sex and good sex and consistently good sex is a very important part of a relationship. And sometimes, you can get, once you get past the personality of a person, you got to have a good lover, right? There has to be, some magnetic energy there, like tantric type stuff, right? And if you don't have that tantric energy with somebody, it's going to be horrible. And if he has horrible nail beds and they don't look really manly, um, you're not going to have fun with him. You're not going to have fun with him, right? And there's a lot of men running around angry and frustrated because they're not packing, and their nail beds tell you that, right? So they're upset. Anyways, you guys, I don't think Andrew Schultz is a racist. I don't know if he's a racist or not. Let me take that back. I don't know if Andrew Schultz is a racist, right? Because there's a lot of people who have soft bigotries, and once they get around black people, they feel a little bit more comfortable letting them out in the form of jokes, right? And so we allow people like these into our cultures to commentate or curate, you know, of course they're going to start saying generalized things about our people, our men and our women, because we gave them a space to do that. So anyways, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Let me know what you think about this. You know, you just got to watch your mouth. You have to watch your mouth. If I was, even when I go into like white spaces, like in all white spaces, I'm really careful of not saying generalize things about white people, because there's always exceptions to those rules, right? There's an exception to any type of rule, right? So I'm not going to say all white men or all white women, because there's always exceptions to those rules, especially when you're talking about poverty line people. I really need to drill this into people, FBI agents who are tuned in, because obviously my content is suppressed on YouTube. But this needs to be drilled in, that when people are talking about certain things from, groups or certain groups of people, especially black people, I'm always, out to challenge people. What segment of black America are you talking about? Right? Which segment, right? Are you talking about the poverty line? Are you talking about the fading middle class? Are you talking about these brulees? Who are you talking about? And they usually are perplexed when you challenge them to do that, because they conflate all of these poverty line behaviors and ideas and practices to all of black people, right? And we got to start challenging people like that, right? You're not going to broad stroke all black people. Which specific group are you speaking of? Right? We got to challenge people like that, right? Because if you look at the middle class black segment, yes, it's fading. Yes, you're going to find divorce, but you're also going to find stability there too. You're also going to find a different mindset, behaviors, and ideas. You know what I mean? And it's never good to generalize all groups of people. And even down to black women. I was looking at this podcast that Anton Daniels was a part of earlier. Don't really care for that dude too. He's out here in Detroit. This dude will say generalized things about black women and then jump on board in a group full of black people and just, try to double talk. Some of these people are double talking demons. And so I don't care for double talking demons like that. But, I look at, people like even him. It was funny. I was actually targeting his nail beds and certain things and making little psychological assessment. I do profile people. I do. I physically mentally and character profile people all the time. And I do that because I'm trying to understand where some of these people are coming from. Where's your self-hate coming from? Are you just one of these buck dancers that are on a bandwagon so that you can make money all the while narrating black people a certain way? I always want to know where some of these conservative Bucky dancers are coming from. And typically they're coming from the same place. And this is no shade against the good conservative black people, but y'all know there's some buck dancers on y'all side. Stop playing. What's up? How are you, my friend? I was just talking about this conversation with Andrew Schultz, a comedian, who has, his wife looks exactly like him. But he was on this podcast talking about white men and relationships with black women and how we are abusive and how we stress them out so bad that they end up losing their hair, right? And it's interesting because I see a lot of bald-headed white men around here, and I'm like, all y'all was dating black women? None of y'all was dating y'all own women, so none of y'all own women actually got y'all to that ball point, right? Andrew Schultz, his little stab at black women don't even make any sense. There are way too many bald-headed white men around here, and they don't even date black women. They bald-headed as hell. So don't put y'all stuff on black women. Y'all women stressing y'all out. Y'all women over there slapping y'all. That's y'all women doing that. Don't put that on black women, Andrew. Don't put that on black women. We do not cause the baldness of white men, right? Nature and their own stress that they put upon them, that causes their baldness. And because most white men do not date black women, it is the white women causing the baldness of the white men, Andrew Schultz, not us. It is the white women causing them to grow their beards so that they can, block some slaps from a woman. It's their women doing that to them. Stop putting that on black women. You don't even got a black woman for you to be addressing us. Just another weak man that is jealous of my sister. Here's the thing. There is a narration about black people and then black women and black men, right? We know the ongoing narrative about us, right? Because they need to make us look lower. They need to make us look less educated. They need to make us look unstable universally, right? That's why they don't like highlighting black people from the private sector. They will elevate these politicians and all these people from the public sector all the time, but they never want to highlight black success from the private sector. Why? Because they don't want that synonymous with black people. They don't want black success synonymous with black people, right? So they're always going to give us these struggle junkies, these politicians, these sellout gatekeeper type individuals, beacons of success, right? Because these people are intimidated by the true possibility of black people, and they work very, very hard to stifle it and leech off of it, all the while wanting to perpetuate us being inferior and keeping us on a lower frequency. If I saw somebody that I thought was inferior, the last thing I'd be doing is leeching off of their ideas and innovations. Yet here black Americans are in America centuries later, and that is our plight. People can run with the narrative all they want that black people never created anything, right? For a while, it was illegal for us to even get credits and trademarks off of the things that we created, and other faces were buying these innovations out, not even giving these black people the rightful royalties of their creations, right? So that a white face can be on an innovation that they leached off of a black person. And there are countless examples of this in America, where the intimidation and the threat of black innovation and black intelligence was such a threat that they made sure that they figured out how to stifle it and stifle us, right? So these narrations have to go on for a reason, right? Because obviously some other group wants to make themselves feel better about some of their inferiority. A lot of these people are truly jealous of black people because they know that some of them, some of these white supremacist people, they know that they are inferior to many of us. They know that they're inferior. Some of these people know that they're inferior to us. When you get this poverty line white person who comes and try to demonize a professional black person who has way more accomplishments than them, have done way more than them, and they're just bitching about, how black people are this, that, or other, they're lazy. That it's like, bro, your situations are totally different. And you can't call this brother DEI when he's actually made tangible deliverables in a company. Like, you can't call Ursula Burns a DEI because she actually went in there and turned Xerox Corporation around. And even though she's a Panamanian immigrant, right, they still don't give that black looking woman her flowers because she's the success of black people in the private sector. And this is what they do, right? So these people, they work hard to maintain these narratives, right? We always need sound bites of black people being unhinged and lower, right? I find that there's been a special interest, right, since this political cycle of narrating and maintaining ideas about black people. So I see the plot here. I see the plot. Rhetorically, I think that black people have been attacked. And I think that we need to start standing up and doing exactly what I'm doing right now and just always calling these people out. And I'm not one that just labels everything racist. I'm not one, oh my God, that was racist. I'm not sensitive like that. I just read people. I read the intent of people. I kind of go in between the lines and I'm just like, this person has soft bigotries, right? And they've been welcomed into a space in which they can guise those soft bigotries out and as jokes so that black people don't realize that this person is insulting them in this, in the name of a joke, right? Because they want to pretend like they're our friends, like Malcolm X said. And Andrew Schultz, I think this is Charlemagne's dude. So Charlemagne is going to defend Andrew Schultz until the cows come home. Like, these are like pillow bros almost. So he's gonna get on and say, oh, wait on, black people. No. Andrew Schultz, he's just like one of us. Like, he's our brother. He's like, he's just this guy that's race. I've known him. You're a racist bone in his body, right? They're gonna probably need Charlemagne, but this probably isn't gonna go anywhere. A couple of people are covering it right now, right? But I don't think it's a big story, right? Because he's a comedian. Obviously, he has the privilege to say whatever he wants to say with no consequences. Anyways, black people have, obviously allowed him to infiltrate and narrate, curate our culture. So he feels like he has a pass to talk to us and at us like he's one of us. And we gave him that pass. So we got to stop giving out cookies to people. All right, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.